Hi there, hello to anyone that is watching us live now or to anyone that is joining us to watch later. Hello and welcome to this live stream of an Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth protest in Tooting and Balham about air quality.
What do we want? Cleaner! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Cleaner! When do we want it? Now! Wake up! Wandsworth! Wake up! Wandsworth! Wake up! Wandsworth!
Back to me. My name is Flo Jarvis. I'm 17 years old and I've lived in Wandsworth all my life, and I'm here to live stream this march that we have going on today. So for anyone that's just joined this and doesn't know what's happening, we are marching from pretty much Balham to Tooting Broadway, through the heart of Wandsworth and also through the heart of some of Wandsworth's worst air pollution. Why are we doing this? Well, it's fair to say that air pollution is a huge problem in Wandsworth. Of the top 10 worst polluted areas in all of London, Wandsworth accounts for 4 of them. So in the whole of London, the top 10 worst polluted areas, 4 of them are in London. And what's more, studies that looked into the concrete impacts of this air pollution, right, because it's not just an abstract thing, it is a concrete thing. They found that actually over 9,000 deaths in London are premature deaths are down to air pollution. And when we looked into this more, we realised that this means at least 300 every year in Wandsworth. So in Wandsworth, we lose about 300 people every year prematurely because of air pollution. So that is the main reason that we're here today. But we're going to try and hear from some of the other people here today to ask them why they're here. So just bear with me, I'm going to flip you round while I find someone to speak to. Back again. I'm just going to come around you. Hi. So, could you tell us your name, please?
Ingrid.
And Ingrid, why are you here today?
Well, I live in Wandsworth. I'm a local resident, and I'm very concerned about the level of our air pollution that we have here. My children and grandchildren. And I just think that, our council isn't doing anything really to address what's such a serious issue. I mean, the number of deaths caused by air pollution is so much. It's certainly as concerning as the pandemic we have currently, and it's just like it's irrelevant. So I'm here because I think that's really important.
Thanks, Ingrid. So Ingrid mentioned Wandsworth Council there. That's one of the main reasons that we're here. Wandsworth Council have utterly failed to act adequately on this terrible problem, and frankly embarrassing problem for their borough. They recently published an air quality action plan, which was almost laughable if it wasn't so tragic, because it completely fails to be as radical as is required. If you're in the situation where you're losing as many people as Wandsworth Council is, we need radical, drastic action. We need public information campaigns. We need big, bold, brave changes, not the minuscule changes that they are telling us that they are taking. Furthermore, Wandsworth Council has a chronic tree cutting problem. Trees are one of the few things that might actually improve air pollution in the borough. And one of the particular areas that they've hit with over 400 fellings, they've not all taken place yet, but they're planned, is York Gardens. And there's a group here, you can see their flag there, called Save York Gardens. So I'm going to go and try and talk to them and ask them what they think and to tell us a bit more about the York Gardens campaign. Hi, so we're just here with the Save Your Gardens campaign. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Dmitry.
And why are you here today?
Huh?
Why are you here today?
Why are you here about? Because it's a campaign for clean air, and Wandsworth has got a very bad reputation, and a lot of existing mature trees are cut not by one or two, but by the whole woods, and new houses are built exactly on the pavement of busy road. So actually, Wandsworth Council kills its people.
Yes, absolutely. So can you tell us a bit more about what's happened in York Gardens?
Your Gardens. Well, let's keep fingers crossed, but it's they can't maybe 30 or 40 trees, but there's a hope that we can stop the whole project.
So did you just say that Wandsworth Council, a council with a chronic air pollution problem, has cut down 30 to 40 trees?
Yes, yes. Actually, they cut the whole buffer that protects the whole estate from a busy road of York Road. And now it's all cut, and all the fumes with the prevailing winds, they're all coming into the estate. Thank you, Wandsworth Council. Thank you for killing us.
Yes, and it's not just deaths, it's also adverse health conditions like asthmas, difficulty breathing. It's not even just the deaths that we're looking at here. Dimitri, last question. Can you just tell us why a tree is important in terms of pollution?
Well, it's in terms of pollution. Well, it's the only way actually to filter, to purify urban air, because you just can't do anything else. You don't have any other means. But this, it's not just clean air. It's also a place to contemplate, for children to play. It's why, for example, the black poplar was beloved by children, and it was placed next to the children's nursery. And it's a part of well, it's a joy. If you see a tree from your window, it's good. If you see wall of next year, it's bad. So it's also your mental health, it's your physical health. Yes, it makes you connect to the earth, to the whole nature.
Absolutely. How can people support your campaign or find you?
Well, we have a website called saveyourgardens.co.uk, and it's still very, very underdeveloped. So if somebody wants to help us, please do come aboard. And it's here, we also just it's the same hashtag in Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, Save Your Gardens. So do please come and support us.
Save Your Gardens. There you go. Thank you, Dimitri. We're just going to take a look at the march now. I'm going to go to the front so you can see what's happening at the front. Hi there, we're back again. Can you tell me your name?
I'm Helena.
Sorry?
I'm Helena.
Helena. Helena, why are you here today?
Because of the climate change protest, the march. And how it's really important because otherwise...
Which is as a direct result of your actions.
Okay, so we're having a little stop here. You might not know why we're stopping here because Councillor Kim Caddy lives on this road. Now she is responsible for the environment in Wandsworth now. It's a recent brief for her, and as you can see here, we don't know. As you see, we've got the important. Now we're having a lot of fun today, which is good. But you know, we've got a coffin because we've estimated that over 300 people a year die in Wandsworth alone from air pollution, and that's just in Wandsworth. Across London, it's nearly 10,000 people. So if you every year that goes on and no one pays any attention. So obviously, a very important person to pay attention to in Wandsworth is Kim Caddy, who lives on this road. Now we don't know what number, so she might be at the other end. So that beholds us to be particularly loud to reach her. So we'll do a bit of chanting, okay? What do we want? Pleading! Down the road. What do we want? Pleading! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Pleading! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Pleading! When do we want it? Now! Wake up! Wandsworth! Wake up! Wandsworth! Wake up! Wandsworth! We want to! Plead! You're not going to live at that decibel. Let's try again. We want to! Plead! We want to! Plead! We want to! Plead! And when do we want to live? Do we want to live now? Chucking over own chance, very unprofessional. When do we want to live? Now! When do you want to live? Now! When do you want to live? Now! Yeah, because 2025 is too late, 2030 is too late. God will all be boiled and blown away or washed away by 2050 if we don't tackle this emergency we're in now. So Wandsworth Council has declared a climate emergency. They know it's a climate emergency. So what do you do when you have an emergency? You act on it, don't you? As opposed to their new air pollution plan is just out for consultation. You would think they had won the Olympics, how marvellous they had done on air pollution. You know, it's full of spin, full of tweaks kind of facts. So they need to stop writing glossy reports and start tackling air pollution now. All right, that's enough. It's lovely spending a bit of time with Kim Caddy, but we've got to move on now.
They're tiny. They don't go from it.
This is good. I'm there. I'm just going out. Have a little rest.
Okay, perfect. We're going to let some of the traffic round. So now I'm going to just speak to some more people. Just making my way through here. We've got a sign here. It says Wandsworth Stand Up to Racism. Hi there, are you from Wandsworth Stand Up to Racism? Yes. What's your name?
Bella.
Hi Bella. What has air pollution got to do with racism?
Well, it has very much to do with racism. It's about the effects of pollution and global warming are having a huge impact on migration, displaced people all over the world. So they're all interlinked. The racism, pollution, and global warming, poverty. People fleeing through economic reasons, drought, war, lack of employment, all those sort of things.
Yeah, and in Wandsworth especially, there's a wealth of evidence to suggest that the worst pollution is in the most economically deprived areas, right? Which are which makes air pollution a social justice issue.
Yes, exactly. It is a social justice issue.
I
might talk to Norman here, who's...
Okay, let's go and speak to Norman. Thank you, Bella. Hello, Norman.
Hi.
Are you up for speaking to the live stream?
Yeah, sure. What about?
Why you're here today?
Because we're facing a massive climate crisis and the Tory government have no real policy for it. Boris lies about everything instead of sorting things out. So we need a militant movement that unites everybody in this country. And we need to get rid of this government which is so reactionary and racist.
Thank you, Norman. Let's continue watching the march. Hi, it's me again. For anyone that's just joined, my name is Flo Jarvis. I'm 17 years old and I'm just here to live stream this amazing March for Life for you. Are you interested in speaking to the live stream?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi. What's your name?
Andrew Gilbert.
And why are you here?
Here to protest against the air pollution levels on Putney High Street and Wandsworth altogether.
And why does that need protesting?
Because the council are doing absolutely nothing about it, so we have to go on the streets to get them to actually do something.
Amazing. And you're holding a banner that says, "We all want to live." Can you just say a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, it's estimated 300 people die in Wandsworth for air pollution. So obviously, clearly, we all want to live. We want the council to decrease the levels of air pollution in the borough and actually work with residents to do this.
Thank you. Yeah, so as I said, this march is organised by Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth. Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth have contacted the council many, many times, and we actually have a whole campaign in relation to their action on the climate crisis. And our air pollution is one of the 4 areas that we identify in our Wake Up Wandsworth campaign. And our demand to the council was that they hold a citizens' assembly on how best to deal with air pollution. Measures like low traffic neighbourhoods are all very controversial. They affect everybody differently, and this is why we can't have a small council committee making huge decisions on the future of its residents. We need a citizens' assembly. We need democracy to be restored. We need the people to be able to give their opinions, their perspectives, and for adequate action to be taken. So Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth, if you don't know about citizens' assemblies, they would not be organised by Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth. They're entirely apolitical. They're a random sample of the population which come together, hear information in a equal fashion, and then help advise and make decisions. So Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth is not saying that XR should be able to run the show. We're actually saying the opposite. We want a random selection of people who live in this borough to be able to help make a decision. Thank you, Suzanne. I've just seen your comment. Andrea, Suzanne says that you're a queen.
Woo! Hi, Suzanne!
Yeah, thank you. So as I was saying, our demand of Wandsworth Council is a citizens' assembly to allow them to take adequate action on the climate crisis, specifically air pollution. We don't have the answers, but we need to be listening to the experts, and we need to stop pretending that the way out of the climate crisis is to allow the power to be held in the hands of a few who, frankly, are not acting to protect their citizens. Let's return to the march. Brilliant. Hello everyone, it's me again, sorry, but we've got a lovely rebel here who would like to speak to you. Hello, what's your name?
My name's Suzanne. I'm not much of a rebel, but I've been doing this since I was 20, so that's over 40 years. And if people think that Extinction Rebellion gets a bit much, that's because we've run out of patience. If you've been doing it for 40 years, you want something to happen now, because you've waited patiently for too long. And I want my grandchildren to live.
That is so powerful, thank you. Do you want to say anything more?
No, that'll do for now, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's a grandmother, a Wandsworth resident, who is a grandmother who we've just heard from, saying that she wants her grandchildren to live. So we've heard from 10-year-olds, we've heard from grandmothers. The message is loud and clear. Wandsworth Borough Council, act now. Do something adequate. Stop producing reports on everything you're doing and actually change the course of action in your borough to protect your citizens. Hi, I was wondering if you'd be up to speak to the live stream quickly.
Hi!
What's your name?
I'm Lou!
Lou, I've noticed that your jacket that you're wearing, it says non-violence and de-escalation on the back. Can you talk a bit about what that means?
Explain here to other people who are part of our march what's going on and that we're sorry to inconvenience them, and to explain that there are bigger inconveniences to come. And if they actually wanted to have a go at anyone about it, I'm the girl.
Brilliant. And can you just speak a bit more about what non-violence means in terms of XR?
It basically means not blaming or shaming anyone, but it also means about keeping a lid on our fury. I like to put it like that. It's like a stringed instrument. If you string your strings on your instrument too baggy, you don't get any music. Similarly, if you pull them too taut, they snap. So what you want is the right amount of tension on the strings to make your point, to be disruptive, to be disobedient, but not to be violent.
Right, thank you. And would you say that, when you said that further disruption was to come, what did you mean by that?
Well, we're pretty much heading for something quite disastrous, really. We've all seen the news in the last couple of weeks about what's happening across Germany, in China, all the flooding that's happening, the heat waves in the States. And of course, here's the thing, what we don't hear about is the flooding in Nigeria, the famine in Madagascar, do we? No, we don't hear about that. Climate change is already impacting parts of the world that we don't shine a light on, that we never hear about in the news. And it's absolutely disgusting. What's going to happen though is it's going to affect all of us. So we might be walking down this street now, but this street could just as easily be underwater, possibly even this afternoon because of all the storms that are coming. We're not set up in this country infrastructure-wise for any kind of flooding, for extreme heat. I mean, look at this street. It doesn't have a single tree on it. You know, there should be trees on every single street in London to mitigate not only the air pollution but also the extreme heat that's coming.
Amazing answer. Thank you so much for talking to us, Lou. I'll let you get back to your job now. That was Lou there. She's a steward on this march, and she's one of the rebels who are here to promote non-violence, which is one of XR's core principles. anyone just joining the live stream now, my name is Flo Jarvis. I'm 17 years old and I live in Wandsworth, and I'm here to live stream for you a March for Life that Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth has organised through Balham and Tooting. Why are we doing this? Because the air pollution situation in our borough is dire and Wandsworth Council are failing to act on the situation. And as a 17-year-old, just to speak personally for a second, I can say that it's incredibly scary to know that my future is held in the hands of such an incompetent and frankly unempathetic bunch who have refused to engage on so many counts and also just bandy about the future of their children like me, because their inaction will be lethal. You've heard us talk about this 300 statistic quite a lot, which is our estimation based on London-wide figures that at least 300 people every year in Wandsworth will die prematurely as a result of the air pollution here. And that is just one example of the ways in which their inaction will be lethal. But even if it won't be lethal, it'll still be extremely damaging. Anecdotally, I was speaking to a friend recently who said that they moved to Putney recently. They'd been living on the southeast coast. They moved to Putney recently and they've been hospitalised twice, and they've had to change their asthma medication because the air quality is so much worse here in Putney. So this is people's health that is in question here, and since we're in a pandemic right now, we're in a time in which, you know, it's fairly widely accepted that we should be concerned for our health, and that we should be taking action to protect our health, right? Wandsworth Council can understand that, and yet they fail to act on the air pollution crisis in their borough, which is also having adverse health effects. And you'll notice, or you might have noticed if you were watching the live, that there's quite a lot of beeping going on of supported cars that go past. There's all these residents that we're passing on the side. We're handing them leaflets and they're nodding along and they're clapping us along. And this is because air pollution, of all the climate crisis related issues, air pollution is a relatively uncontroversial one, right? We don't want to die. Pretty much everyone can get on board with that, apart from, it would seem, Wandsworth Council. So once again, Wandsworth Council, if you're watching, we have support. The people that we're passing are supportive. They're filming us, they're clapping us, they're taking leaflets. The cars that are passing are honking us, because this is a crucial issue that is pretty much not even up for debate anymore. So let's have another look at the march now.
children too. We want the children too. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? We want this. We want our children too. We want your children too. We want all children too. Wake up. We made it! Tooting Broadway! Yeah, move in, stay safe and stay distanced in that order. Okay, so there are lots of great young people who've come on this march today. And I'd really like to give them a real big cheer. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Well, that isn't going to help them grow up very fast. 1, 2, 3. And I'd like to say a warm welcome to our friends at Wandsworth Stand Up to Racism. And a very warm welcome to the Save Your Gardens campaign here, who've done an extraordinary job fighting. They are trying to cut down 400 trees in your gardens, and they've already destroyed too many. So it's a fabulous campaign. So we've got a couple of speakers, I hope so. I've only seen some of them. This guy, Pete, are you here? Pete, hooray! Now Pete's also part of the band. That's right. Extraordinary array of talent. Oh yeah, a quick cheer for the band! So literally, these guys are asked to do 3 or 4 things a day, and I can fight all the other ones off to get them here. So we're really grateful tonight and everyone's coming. It makes such a difference. Thank you very much. Right, so we are going to start. We have a few speakers, and we're going to start with a sign. This is, I call him pollution Pete, but that's not his real name. This is who is a researcher in pollution at Imperial College in London. So we've got quite hot.
Thank you. I think we want to try to do the banner.
You had to act or sorry.
I'd like to know the best way to stand. I mean, if I do this, half what I say is half won't. So, if I stand over here, the guy in the top hat, can you hear me? The back? No? Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Okay, my name is Pete Knapp. I'm currently an air quality scientist, but I used to be a street sweeper, and then a drummer, and then a maths teacher in China, and then an antimatter physicist at CERN, and now I'm doing a PhD at Imperial College in air quality. It was while I was teaching in Beijing when I became interested in air pollution. It was at a scale that was unimaginable. Smog created by home heating, cooking, and coal-fired power stations were something that sometimes completely shrouded the city. Air purifiers were sold for £500. There was a vacuum of knowledge and a deep social injustice that was promoted by their government. The school children who were lucky enough to know about air pollution wore masks to school. They wore masks in restaurants and cinemas. This was weird. It was only after extreme campaigning that nearly lost me my job when the school started to monitor and purify the air at school. I saw flaws in the Chinese system, and I couldn't understand why it was happening. But then I came back to the UK with a different perspective, and I started to see flaws here too. As the Natural History Museum said last year, the UK has led the world in destroying the natural environment. Centuries of farming, building and industry have made the UK one of the most nature-depleted countries in Europe, and our governments haven't acted on the warnings about the climate and ecological emergencies until disasters start to actually happen, by which time it's a very slippery slope. I started to see our part in the Chinese smog, how everything we buy is made there, and how we force feed GDP and economic growth to them. I joined Extinction Rebellion a year ago, bonding with scientists for XR, where I would join a group of people who would help me in some way, and I would help them. They would educate me and support me by providing a community. But the more I learned about the scale, the urgency and the inaction, I was less able to cope. And eventually, with the isolation from lockdowns, I suffered a mental breakdown. I had to take time off and start to rebuild myself. This is a real danger for anyone trying to learn about the emergency, especially alone. And I encourage people to learn with others to avoid self-destruction. I've learned air pollution is a killer. When fuel is burnt, or ammonia from cattle reacts with gases from exhaust or coal, tiny particles are created, many of them, and they're too small to see. Imagine a mature oak tree. There aren't any oak trees around here, but imagine one. If we scaled up a lung to the size of an oak tree, the leaves on it would be the size of the alveoli, the part where the air and the blood mix. A tiny dust mite on that leaf would be the size of PM 2.5, particulate matter that is 2.5 microns or smaller. The size is important because it can get into the blood. From there it can go into the brain to cause strokes, it can go into the heart to cause heart disease, it can go into all of the organs of the body. I've much to tell you about air pollution. The effects of flying or farming, shipping or shopping, thermodynamics and microplastics. I wrote it all on a web page for today's speech, and this card will tell you how to get there if you take one from me at the end. Come, thank you very much. I have 5 statistics from this web page that you might find interesting. Air pollution may have increased COVID-19 deaths in Europe by 19% and 27% in East Asia. Fossil fuel combustion causes at least 1 in 5 of all deaths globally. That's 8.7 million people, the number of people living in London, central London, every year. That's 3 times more than the people who die from HIV, tuberculosis and malaria combined. The worst air quality in London, where do you think that might be? Well, actually it's in the underground. It can be 60 times worse underground than it is on the roadside. In the UK, wood burning is the biggest contributor to air pollution. where the most eco-friendly stoves produce at least 18 times the emissions of a model diesel car. The Edmonton incinerator produces equivalent rate of pollution as 7,000 diesel car exhausts, and equivalent nitrogen oxides of 100 heavy-duty diesel trucks. Incinerators are 3 times more likely to be built in poorer areas. We can see a link between exposure to air pollution and income. And clean air should not be a luxury for the rich, but a right for all. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't turn it on. So on our website, which there's one of those, what are those modern things we put on leaflets? QR codes. That's, thank you, young man. So on the leaflet on your which you've got the QR codes, that will also take you to Pete's paper. Okay, so next up is Andrea Gilbert, and she is part of a group called Putney Air Pollution Busters. You're not looking so well today, Angela. No, okay, so warm welcome for Angela.
Hi everyone, it's really great to be here with you all, protesting against Wandsworth Council's, disgraceful efforts on air pollution. Putney Air Pollution Busters was created because Putney is the second and worst air polluted area in London and in the UK even. And, residents are continuously getting in touch with councillors to discuss our concerns about air pollution, and nothing is getting done. It affects children, it affects babies, it affects pregnant women, and it has links to 9 other conditions as well, including dementia. Wandsworth Council needs to stop talking about the climate crisis and actually listen to residents' concerns about decreasing the levels of air pollution. We are literally stuck with a fake tree that's been installed rather than them planting trees in Putney High Street. Residents have always wanted to work with the council on decreasing the levels, but have been met with ignored emails, nobody taking any interest in it unless we're protesting. We've got to continue coming onto the streets to, declare that we want Wandsworth to decrease the levels of air pollution. If this continues, more people are going to continue dying, and it's going to continue the rise in asthma in our children as well. At the end of the day, we can continue protesting, we can continue getting at the council, but at the end of the day, it's the council that have to do more about this, and they have to continue to listen to residents by having a citizens' assembly where residents can put in their views and their objections if they don't agree with plans moving forward. We need to also bear in mind that we need to get more active in schools, educating parents and educating children about the dangers of air pollution and how it impacts health in young age and also health in older age as well. We need to continue coming together, we need to continue protesting, and we also need to continue putting pressure on our MPs to talk about this issue in Parliament. It can't just be our local councils that are doing things on this. We've got to continue to push them on ensuring that air pollution is a priority and a priority in decreasing it. We also need to, continue bringing in other groups, marginalised groups that are impacted, especially in regards to the low traffic neighbourhoods that have had a, disproportionate impact on ethnic minority areas. We need to work. It's not just one solution that's going to end all of these issues. It's a combination of all of them. I just feel that councillors, MPs need to get on board with what residents want for their local areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So next up to speak is I think our local anti-air pollution hero. He's been fighting this battle longer and harder than anybody else in the borough. So a warm welcome to David Smith. hear me from the back? Wonderful. Was that a no?
That's a no.
Okay, I'll speak even louder. How's that? Yeah? Right. Thank you very much for the introduction, Bernard. I'm David Smith. I run the campaign Little Ninja UK, which is looking at reducing children's air pollution exposure. It's been running for over 4 years now, and I've discovered quite a lot, some of it repeating what we've heard earlier. But when we're talking about traffic pollution, and that's the one I'm really concerned with, because that's the one that is having this massive effect on our children's health, on their lung and their brain development. When we ask who is most at risk, it is our children. Because when you think around the source of this pollution, the vehicle exhaust pipes, that's the vehicle engines and the vehicle exhaust pipes, who's closer to that? Well, it's the children, because they're down here. It's the babies in buggies, because they're down here. And if you think about where the exhaust pipe is, and you think the fact that these children are breathing 2 to 3 times more air than we are. Yeah? Subject, you know, relative to their body weight. You think they're actually breathing 2 to 3 times more rapidly than we are. So they're getting increased volume, increased concentration for being closer to this horrible carcinogenic fumes. Because I don't know if you know, but diesel exhaust is carcinogenic, group 1, like tobacco smoke. There's been equivalencies that if your children are breathing this air, then they're passive smoking around 10 cigarettes a day. Now, we wouldn't let your children passive smoke 10 cigarettes a day. You wouldn't let your children smoke a cigarette a day, and yet that's what our babies and our children are breathing. So we say, well, when is their highest exposure? And it's during the school run. And if you think about it, yes, morning rush hour. It's the busiest time, it's the most polluted time, and our children are going to school. It's kind of strange because they're going to begin their day of learning, and they're doing that by breathing this air that actually impacts on their brain development, their IQ and their intelligence. We ask, well, where is their highest exposure? And it's actually on main roads, like these. Air pollution on these roads can be twice as high as on back streets. And if children are walking along these roads, as we want them to do for active travel, if they're scooting along, then this is exercise. In which case then actually they're taking this dirty air deeper into their lungs. And as we heard earlier, some of this stuff, the particulate matter is so small, it gets into the lungs, gets into the bloodstream, and everywhere blood goes, it goes. Including past the blood-brain barrier, and with pregnant mums, it's actually getting into the placenta. This is what our researchers and scientists are telling us. So it's actually impacting the unborn child. In which case you get premature birth and low birth weight, which itself has all these knock-on effects for the life and the health of a child. Interestingly, when we say, again, where is their exposure apart from the school run? Well, it's actually at school. If you think about it, if you're at home, 90% of people live on side roads, your air pollution is relatively low because there's less traffic. If you're on a main road or you're going to school within 50 metres of a main road and your air pollution is high, in the summertime when you've got the windows open for ventilation, your children are breathing this dirty air all day from the congested traffic outside their school. If they're in the playground, they're running around again, exercising, taking in this dirty air. So we know who's most at risk. We know it's our children, we know where, we know when, and we should find solutions to deal with this. So I stopped what I was doing about 4 years ago, thought, all right, I can do this, 6 months, easy. Here are some really simple solutions, Wandsworth Council, that we can actually tackle pollution in Wandsworth. I'm not going to tell you all of them, I'll just tell you a quick brief summary of a couple of them, but one of them was simply to say, well, we know that part of the problem is this stop-start idling traffic. Every acceleration, 10 times the emissions. Every time they're braking, it's releasing more of this particulate matter through engine wear, brake wear, road surface wear, tyre wear, all that plastic, microscopic stuff. And we know that an idling vehicle produces around 150 balloons worth of toxic air every minute. So you can imagine that, a balloon, 150 size, that much every minute. And yet we have vehicles which are idling for 15 minutes just to drive 1 mile, accelerating and braking 30, 40 times just to drive 1 mile. So it's kind of obvious what it is that's poisoning us and poisoning our children. And there are some simple solutions to fix this. So we said to TfL and Wandsworth Council, how about we gate traffic on the busiest roads at the busiest times? Just ask them, stop, turn your engine off, wait 5 minutes, you can still see the traffic ahead of you because it's all moving so slowly, and once that's gone past, turn your engine on, accelerate once, and actually catch up with the vehicles ahead. And they said, you know what, you're describing gating, it's a great idea. we used it in the Olympics. They're saying, well, why don't you use it now? They're like, no excuses, no reason. So, with Extinction Rebellion, a couple of years ago, and I can see some of the faces here now, we actually did it on the A3. We actually blocked the A3, 5 minutes at a time, and showed this is what you could do. We asked the vehicle drivers to turn their engines off, gave them a bit of cake, a bit of blackmail there, homemade, gave them some leaflets and air pollution, and they did, and we had silence for 5 minutes. And when they did turn their engines on, which is equivalent to about 7 seconds of idling, yeah, they then accelerated, drove off, and 30 seconds later they caught up with the traffic ahead, and then turned their engines off again. So look, it's not rocket science, these are simple things that could be done. Wandsworth Council aren't doing them. And the one we came up with was simply saying outside schools. We know this is where children are breathing this dirty air. Can we please stop vehicles from idling? Can we do it outside our hospitals, outside our shops, outside our train stations? For God's sake, turn your engine off, you're not going anywhere. People sitting there for an hour charging their phone. I mean, come on, CO2 for the environment, NO2 for our children's lungs, it makes absolute sense. Turn your engine off. And we said to Wandsworth Council, can you support the No to Idling campaign? NO2, nitrogen dioxide idling. Their response was to ask me if I would be a green hero. Yes? And they put me in a magazine and put my face up there and say, look, Wandsworth's green hero. I said, okay, I'll do that, but are you actually going to tackle the problem? No. You didn't see me in a magazine because they wouldn't tackle the problem. And I'm not going to be there to put myself forward for some sort of PR campaign and some more of this kind of greenwashing. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah? Then, finally, school streets. Everyone heard of school streets? Yeah, now, very specific. It's an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, Monday to Friday only, term time only. It's a small amount of time that you close the roads outside your schools. Not all schools, because some of them you just can't close because of the main roads that cause more problems than it solves, but the vast majority of schools. And for years, we've been asking Wandsworth Council to do this. Before I even knew about school streets, people were asking Wandsworth Council. It's not my idea, this has been going on a long time. Yeah, 5 years ago, they asked them, they said, we'll think about it. 4 years ago, they said, have you thought about it? Yeah, we have, we think it's a good idea. 3 years ago, will you do something about it? Well, we'll do a trial. 2 years ago, we're thinking about doing a trial, but we're going to do a trial. A year ago, yeah, we're definitely going to do a trial. I mean, for God's sake, just get on and do stuff. If it's an emergency, and air pollution is a national health emergency, you have to act. And if you're not acting, then it's just chat, and that's no good for what we need and for our children. COVID came, and the council said, we trust our school heads. If you think you need to close the road outside your school for social distancing, we'll close the road. Loads of schools asked the council, said, yes, do it at our school. Please do it at our school, including my son's school. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It got to the day when all the children were coming back on the 1st of June, you might remember, and it kind of opened that first time, about 40 kids went back, nothing happened. So the head teacher at my school got some barriers and closed the road, and unofficially created Wandsworth First School Street. Yeah. That kind of action, love that. Yeah, I filmed it. And the next day I came and filmed it. I started posting on Twitter, and every day I'll do a little update, look what's happening, look, it's a school street, it's a school street. And eventually Wandsworth Council came round, and I said, okay, let's have a meeting, okay, we'll give you some signage, and after 21 days of this kind of bending the law, bending the rules, we got the signage, which officially made us the school street. Now we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to kind of bully or embarrass our council to look after our kids, to protect our kids. That's their job, that's what they're supposed to do. Yeah? So for us to have to take this kind of action, for us to have to be here today, it shouldn't take this much. If it's really an emergency, and we're talking about a climate emergency, and we're talking about air pollution, two sides of the same coin, the NO2 and the CO2, it's all connected. We shouldn't have to bully our councils. Now, I can't be here and not mention briefly school streets. I know it's a topic people think for, against, and so on and so forth, but it's really important to me just to say, when we're talking about climate action, we have to be talking about climate justice. You can't have one and be pursuing one without pursuing the other. When we're talking about, when we've got pollution, and we're saying our plastic pollution, we're sending it abroad to other countries for them to burn and poison their kids, we know it's wrong. In the same way, if we're in a country, here in London, and we're saying we're going to close side roads, and we're going to move that traffic onto main roads, which are already, as we've discussed, the most polluted, the kids are there on the schools, and we understand that it's generally the poor, the black, Asian, minority ethnics who live, work, and study, learn, and play on these roads. There's something wrong. And we have to find better solutions that include everybody, that provide clean air for all. Final point, touched on it before, which is, look, when we talk about Wake Up Wandsworth, I think it's brilliant just to have so many people out here today. I've been so impressed, and the energy and the enthusiasm, yeah, I caught it on the video. I'm going to be tweeting about that later. Love it, absolutely love it. But the message we have to keep on going is, about 2 years ago, just over, Diane, Glenn, the rest of them, they brought up this 10,000. They got 12,000 signatures, and that's what forced Wandsworth Council to actually declare a climate emergency. And since that time, I've not seen them treat it like an emergency. I've not seen it. And time is ticking and time is running out. So I've got to ask, is this the right people to actually be leading this? Are these people doing what we need for us and for our children? Now, I'm not saying that Labour would necessarily do a better job. They would, perhaps. Green Party, maybe. Lib Dems. It may be that we need some of you to actually stand up as independents and actually stand up and say, look, that's top of the priority. Let's look after the planet and our children's health. But what I do know is that we need to continue applying this pressure, more of this pressure. We need to once again go back and get 12,000 people to say we need change, to get 20, 30,000. And that's going to be down to us and good people to actually keep on pushing that through. So give yourselves a round of applause and keep up the great work. Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
Great, yeah, well done, because what David is calling for is we need to act, and you have acted by coming out today, and that's really important. But we need to act every day, and if you're not an active member of Extinction Rebellion, we would love you to become an active member of Extinction Rebellion. Okay? Think what we can do with 5 times as many people in Wandsworth to transform where we're at. So next up to speak, she's already been previewed, is Diane McCann. Who's involved in many groups in Wandsworth, but she's speaking on behalf of Extinction Rebellion today.
Thanks very much, Bernard and David, for the Sorry. Right. Hi everybody, great to be here. Close up. I'm Diana McCann and I've been a campaigner. Thank you, I haven't got 3 hands. Okay, so I've been campaigning against air pollution since the London mayoral elections in 2016, when I first became aware of just how bad the extreme levels of nitrogen dioxide were near my home. Putney notoriously had the most polluted high street in London, where for the 2 consecutive years of 2016 and 2017, its annual allowance of 18 breaches of a set high level. So yes, where for the 2 consecutive years of 2018 and 2017, annual allowance of 18 breaches of a set high level of NO2 was exceeded by mid-January. That is, the allowed number of breaches for the whole year was exceeded in the first 2 weeks of January. The annual figures have been consistently massively excessive for almost 2 decades, with, for example, the 2011 reading 2,768 times, when the legal limit, remember, was 18. I mean, it's unbelievable what this demonstrates. And the records are there on the council's website, is that NO2 has been at very dangerous levels for more or less permanently during the day on the high street for years. Who knew? The Putney Society carried out a series of diffusion tube measurements to pressure the council and Transport for London to act. TfL made Putney High Street the first low-emission bus zone, with only hybrid buses on all routes. In March 2017, and levels dropped dramatically, but the mean NO2 level has stuck obstinately at around 75% above the World Health Organization's safe limit of 40, and there's been no major mitigation action since 2017. And the danger of using the annual mean as a key indicator is that it hides extreme daily fluctuations, with peaks often over 100, occurring at precisely the times when people are walking, cycling and using public transport on their way to school and work, and who are being unfairly forced to breathe the illegal air. Also, as pointed out by Simon Burkett of Clean Air in London during a recent Public Society webinar on air pollution, World Health Organization is about to lower the threshold of the safe level of toxins, which will define our air as even more toxic. There are dangerously high hotspots across the borough, not just in Putney. Battersea Park, Battersea Square, Mitcham Road, Queenstown Road, West Hill, York Road, and of course right here on Tooting High Street. The council has been monitoring since 1999, but what have they actually done? Nada! Apart from mandating the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on residential roads and implementing around 20 school streets, and they only happen because of the pandemic, but there are around 200 primary schools in the borough. They're filled around the edges. Unlimited private car use is the elephant in the room, but our council is terrified of upsetting the car lobby, as they consider it, probably correctly, a vote loser. A highly controversial subject. It's come to be seen as our unalienable right. It is hard not to be persuaded by tones of exuberant joy in the open road, wind in the willows. We've seen this loud and clear in the plots that kept getting introduced to capital neighbourhoods last year during the pandemic. In my opinion, they should have been accompanied by a raft of car use reduction measures in order to avoid the very thing that's happened. Gridlock on the residential main roads, as David regularly points out so eloquently on social media and did just a few minutes ago. This is why a citizen assembly could really help bring the many points of view together and find a way through. Our near neighbour, Kingston Council, ran one in 2019. Why not ask them for advice, everyone? Electric vehicle charging point installations are trumpeted by the council. Of course we need to move to electric vehicles, but they're not a silver bullet. Tar road friction produces a fine particulate matter, rubber and plastic and tarmac, which scientists have found present in human placentas and children's brains. They will require vast amounts of resources to build, which the planet cannot afford. Driving also causes many diseases of inactivity, a huge burden on the NHS. We simply must stop driving so much. So last week, Jason Andrews, the Air Quality Officer for Wandsworth Merchant Richmond, presented the new Air Quality Action Plan to the Wandsworth Environment Chorus. I asked him what he considered were the most radical ideas in the plan. Hoping for perhaps tiered parking charges, as many other London councils do, car-free or zero-emission zones, as many other car-free or zero-emission zones in all our town centres. As is happening in Oxford this year, a real anti-idling campaign asking drivers to switch off waiting at traffic lights, smart road pricing, handing back half the street space to the non-drivers who live there for parkers, bike hangers, seating, streets, banning SUVs. Now there's a radical thought. His answer? Measuring 2.5 and the focus on the vulnerable. Two things they should already have been doing, and which vulnerable people is not absolutely clear. But there is hope. The pandemic has led to a leap in awareness of nature and our part in it, of a desire to find greener, more fulfilling ways to live our lives. Nature-based solutions are the obvious win-win in the battle against the climate and nature emergency. And the law might wade in to help. Ecocide looks set to become the 5th new law in the International Criminal Court later this year. Children are winning in the courts against governments charged with destroying their futures, and Client Earth is preparing a new air pollution case, looking at defence on children, following the Ella Additive Deprecation ruling last year. We need to press hard for a new Clean Air Act, despite what one Wandsworth councillor claims. We are not breathing air that is safer than any time since the 16th century. That's what the council has said, we're breathing fresher air since any time in the 16th century. That's what we're up against, folks.
Which one was it? Peter Graham.
Woo!
If Pete's business card could make their way back in, that'd be great. Thanks, Di. Thanks to, where's Ian? This is Ian over here. Ian made the coffin. And you know what Ian's grandfather did for a living? He was an undertaker, so it's in the blood. So Ian, and thanks for everyone who's helped out today. This is part of a wider Wake Up Wandsworth campaign. What we want is clean air in Wandsworth, and it's completely possible. If you look at, you know, what happened with the original Clean Air Act when people couldn't breathe and smog, we don't have that anymore. So it's completely doable. We also want to introduce food waste collections to Wandsworth. We also want to stop chopping down mature trees. Because what do mature trees do, among other things? They clean up the air. And what's our other one? Oh, disinvestment, which always seems a bit dull, but it's not, it's really important. We really need to get the council to disinvest its pension funds from fossil fuels. All right, one more speaker. So someone's going to talk from the York Gardens campaign.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm involved in York Gardens campaign, which is on York Road, just up from Clapham Junction Station, and the Winstanley development, where Wandsworth Council and Taylor Wimpey plan to fell 300 mature trees. They've already felled half an ancient mature woodland, and we are campaigning that the remaining woodland is saved, and that the 300 remaining mature trees are saved. A 100-year-old poplar tree was felled already. We had local residents, Bob Geldof, Judy Dench, who's a nationwide tree campaigner, along with Trudy Styler and others who support our campaign to protect all existing mature trees. We are now demanding that Sadiq Khan remove his support of this redevelopment. He supported it because it has a small percentage of affordable housing, but affordable housing is situated on the most polluted area of York Road. And if Sadiq Khan claims to be London's greenest mayor, which we wholeheartedly want him to be, then he must remove his support for this outrageous redevelopment, which is basically going to destroy very valuable trees in the neighbourhood and provide very little affordable housing. Thank you so much for everyone coming here. Save our trees.
Thank you very much. A very important local campaign. Now, as I've been speaking, you will have seen a tree rising out of the ashes, because we still have time. We are facing, as we can see across the world is being consumed by fire and flood at the moment. We are already seeing catastrophic climate change on our doorsteps, but there is still time to change that. So what we're doing here is that we're going to invite you, we're going to take a tree of life. We've asked some of the children and some of the adults to write messages to the council about what they need to do in terms of pollution and wider environmental concerns. So there's some leads if you want to do that. Also, this is Nigel over here. So, if you want to join the Samba band, Nigel, he'll give you a flyer. And take the flyer just in case. You might go home thinking, God, I really just wanted a flyer. But take a flyer. So, thank you again for coming. We'll just end on a few chants. Wake up! Wandsworth! Wake up! Wandsworth! Wake up! Wandsworth! What do we want? Clean air! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Clean air! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Clean air! When do we want it? Now! We want all our children to live! We want all our children to live! We want all our children to live! Thank you all very much.
There we go, everyone. So for everyone that's been watching the live stream today, thank you so much for watching. I'm Flo Jarvis and I'm the person that has been filming, so apologies for any shaky camera work. I'm going to close the live stream now just by saying that if you want to find out more, if you want to follow us, if you want to get involved, if you want to support us, we are Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth, who have primarily organised this march. We have a page on our new website devoted to the Wake Up Wandsworth campaign, so you can find the website at http://xrwandsworth.earth. So just go to xrwandsworth.earth. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, XR Wandsworth, Extinction Rebellion Wandsworth, everywhere there. You can contact us there, there's DMs, there's an email address. You'll find all of that everywhere. So please do, if you've watched this live stream and been inspired, please do get in touch, reach out, contact us. Don't go away, continue to support. We need to breathe. Thank you and goodbye.